Here we go. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. It's Tottenham versus Aston Villa. The Premier League is back. Thank God. Thank God the Premier League is back. Were you as bored as I was during the international break? Absolutely unbearable, the international break. I just honestly hate it. It is so boring. But we're back. Tottenham are back. And we are currently sitting, well, for this weekend, we're sitting in third place. Is there a chance for us to go up to second, maybe? We get a decent win here. It's going to be a very difficult game, though, I think. I think it's going to be a very difficult game for Spurs. We are without Destiny Udogie in the squad, and I felt he really gave us excellent balance against Leeds. I hope that's not too worrisome an injury. I haven't seen the reports on that yet. If you guys have seen that in the reports, let me know in the comments if there's any news yet on Destiny Udogie, and I'll try and keep an eye on it as well. But yeah, most importantly, just excited to see Spurs again. Excited to see Xavi in the 10. I'll put the team up along the bottom now. Actually, it is Vicario, Porro, Spence, Van der Ven, and Romero. Spence coming in for Udogie, as mentioned. Then Palhinha and Bentancur in front of Xavi in the 10. And then Kudus on the right, Odegaard on the left. And Tell, having scored that really good goal at Leeds, gets to keep his place up front, which I think personally is the correct decision. And excited to see Kudus, of course. I think Odegaard has been showing some good green shoots of improvement, so he's the right choice on the left. I personally think it's the right decision to play Palhinha and Bentancur in the double pivot against Aston Villa, who will be trying to get on the ball a bit more than maybe, say, Wolves. But I have to say, when Wolves came to Spurs, they absolutely dominated us in midfield, but we didn't have any creativity that day. And having Xavi Simons in the 10, I think, will really help us. On the bench, Kinski, Danso, Richarlison, Gray, Bergvall, Johnson, Papamatsar, Kolo Muani is back from his dead leg, and Byfield. People in the comments, Redwan says, "What's up? What's up, Redwan? Good to see you, mate." Simon says, "Shame about the dog." Are you talking about Lulu, my dog? Not being in the background. She's busy today. Brandon says, "Hello, Barnaby. I think it'll be a 3-1 win to us. Tough game, but just enough to get over the line. Come on, you Spurs." Aston Villa have won 4 games on the spin, although I've been listening to a few podcasts. Some people have been saying that slightly flatters them because 2 of those were in the Europa League. But it does seem like they're getting it together. I don't think it's a huge surprise. Remember at the beginning of the season, Emi Martinez was desperately trying to leave. Lots of reports of him potentially going to Manchester United or elsewhere. And that never happened. And I do think Martinez is a quality goalkeeper. So that will have helped them, the fact that he is now, available for selection. And yeah, I think they had just a disappointing transfer window because they didn't make it to the Champions League end of last season. And obviously they'd spent a lot on wages. Remember, they brought in Asensio and Rashford, and obviously on loan. And they had to make some player sales. So that's why I think they had a bit of a bad start, Villa, but they do have a great manager in Emery, and they've done well at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in the last few years, I'd say. So I think it's going to be a difficult game, but like I said, I'm feeling pretty positive on the basis that we do have Xavi in that 10 position. I do kind of wish Udogie was available, but also, is there a chance? I'm hoping that maybe the manager has said to Udogie, we need you for the next game. We've got something silly like 7 games in 27 days or something like that. Let's have a look. I'm just going to look at the fixtures now, actually. So it is what is it? It's the 19th today, is it? Yeah, 19th today. So then we've got Monaco away Wednesday, Everton away Sunday, Newcastle away the following Wednesday in the League Cup. So that's 3 away games on the spin after this. Then Chelsea at home, then Copenhagen at home, then Man United at home. And that's all before the next international break on the 8th of November. So hopefully, I'm hoping that maybe with Destiny Udogie, he's just saying, you've had some injuries. We don't want to have you playing every single game. Maybe he's got something tight. He feels it a little bit. Don't take any risks. Have a little rest. So let's see what happens. And obviously, Jed Spence, great defensively at left back. I just do think it makes it easier for the opposition to press us down one side. However, like I said, that was a lot easier to do when we didn't have any creativity in that 10 role, but with Xavi there and hopefully fit and firing and are confident after his last game, and hopefully no more Rabonas. It should be good. Godfrey Drummond says, "Afternoon, B. Hello, mate. Thank you for joining us." Red One says, "I think Spence is always a sensible choice." Yeah, like I said, I think brilliant defensively. Had a great international break with England, of course, as well. Confidence should be high. But what I'd like to see from Jed Spence, I think, is when Aston Villa come across and try and get in front of him to press him back onto the right side, just always going back centrally. Maybe he could take a risk and try and run them down the line, or take it inside and take a player on, just to put something different in the Aston Villa player's mind in terms of how easy it should be to press. Just while I've got 88 of you here, I really appreciate you watching and supporting, guys. If you're not already a member of my Big Up community, please do come and join Big Up to watch the game with me. There'll be a watch along for this and every Spurs game on Big Up. Details of how to join are in the description box below, but it's bigup.com/the Spurred On podcast. And you just join the community, and it's really great. You can also play the daily fantasy game there with a chance to win big bucks. And if you like it over on Big Up, you can also talk to me at halftime on video call on Big Up. So come and join me on Big Up for the game. Simon Guzzer says, this is the exact team I wanted to see aside from Destiny. Red One again says, today Bentancur makes sense. I would play Kinski over Vicario. Sorry, but I'm a hater no matter how good his stats are. Okay, I don't agree with you on that. I think, we haven't seen enough of Kinski. Yeah, I love, I've said it many times, but I love Kinski with the ball at his feet. Undoubtedly a brilliant kind of modern ball-playing goalkeeper. But I don't think Vicario has been making loads of mistakes with the ball at his feet. He's not giving away goals like that anyway. Yes, he will lump a couple every game into the crowd. That will happen. But look, I think Kinski, it's a bit early for him personally, but let's see what happens. Carson 8 says, go press the like button. It has a cool football animation. Is that on YouTube, Carson? Let me know if that's true. I don't know what that means. Really. And Brandon says it's 7 games in 22 games. Simon says, Bentancur's revenge on the cards. He and Romero will give Cash the fright of his life today. Come on, you Spurs. Yeah, Matty Cash, for any of you who don't remember, Matty Cash has a kind of a history of injuring Spurs players. He's done Bentancur at least once. Brandon says, I can see Xavi curling one in the top corner today. I hope you're right. And Cantab says, hope Cash, oh no, that's the wrong one, sorry. Says, hope Cash doesn't injure Spence. Yeah. Red One says, have you checked our injury list? It's still atrocious. By the way, Big Ange is gone. Yeah, I am planning to talk about Big Ange. Maybe let's talk about Big Ange a bit now, seeing if you brought it up, Red One. I've been saying it all the last couple of months since he took that Forest job. I thought it was absolute madness that he took that job. I thought it was a big mistake from Big Ange. And it's come back to bite him, because now I just don't think he will ever get another job in the Premier League. And that's a shame. That is, no matter what you say about Ange and his kind of gung-ho philosophy, he was good value in lots of ways. But I don't foresee him getting another Premier League job. I think Mr. Marinakis has shown what an idiot he is, how clueless he is. First he brought in Edu, which made things difficult, and then he brought in Ange to try and change the philosophy all in one fell swoop, and it's just really, really bitten him. And after all that, we never lose stuff in the summer. I mean, a penny for Morgan Gibbs White's thoughts, quite frankly. So Big Ange is gone. I said at the time, after he left Spurs, I thought Big Ange should wait to try and get a job the kind of akin to like an Ajax or a Sporting Lisbon, or a Benfica, like one of those clubs who are the only kind of title-winning likely clubs in their league. And then Big Ange, when he's got the best at his disposal in a league, he's unbeatable. He showed that at Celtic, he showed it everywhere. But at Spurs and Nottingham Forest, just it didn't quite happen in the Premier League. He was found out, and it's a shame. Forest played quite well first half, but when things are going badly, they will continue to go badly. That is the way it works in football. That's the mental side of it. Luck kind of follows, bad luck follows bad luck. And Forest should have been well ahead at halftime yesterday, but they weren't. And as a result, Chelsea then just scored a set piece, which I think was Forest's 10th set piece they've conceded under Ange this season. And if you're a man who came out when he was at Spurs that says he doesn't believe in set piece coaches, then you'd better not concede many set pieces. And he did at Spurs, and he did at Forest. And he just doesn't help himself. He's a great bloke, and he comes across brilliantly, and I love him. He'll be a legend at Spurs forever, but he's not modernized, unfortunately. And the press scrutiny in this country on the Premier League is so high that you can't get away with things like maybe you can in Australia or in Japan or in Scotland. And that is why he lost his job. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think he needs to have a proper rest. One thing, I was thinking about it yesterday, Ange will make a brilliant pundit. If he wants to become a pundit, he would be a brilliant pundit in the Premier League. He'd be top value, but I'm sure he'll want to kind of try and prove himself elsewhere, but I don't think his next job will be in the Premier League. That is for sure. Ed says, we're at home. It's concerning. Yeah, our form this year at home hasn't been great, but Thomas Frank keeps talking about how he wants our home to become a fortress for us. And if that's one of his achievable goals, I'm here for it. one of the problems I think we have at home is that people love coming to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. The away fans love it. It's definitely the best stadium in the league. The away players, they love playing there. It's such a great venue to play at. And I think that kind of counts against us a bit. And I saw that Tottenham flags have got a new flag for Mickey van der Ven this week. And actually the club communicated that officially with Mickey on their social media, which is pretty cool. And just these little things that we're trying to do to get the atmosphere up. Got to keep that going. But it's the players on the pitch through their play that have to help get the atmosphere up, feed off each other, the team feeding off the crowd and vice versa. And look, I think today's going to be really difficult. But if we could get a win today, I think it would be really huge going into those games. Monaco away next won't be easy. I read that Eric Dyer's picked up an injury, won't get to play against us, which is such a shame for Eric. I would have loved him to play against us. But anyway, that won't be an easy game. And then, like I said, it's Everton away, isn't it? And then Chelsea after that. So we've got some difficult games coming up. Bill Beebe, thank you for your comment. Says, I'm looking forward to this. Villa always give us a good game, but I'm confident we'll win. Come on, you Spurs. I love that confidence. Carson says, go on YouTube mobile. Go try it if you don't believe me. If you're on YouTube mobile watching this, press the like button and apparently a little football animation comes up. Simon Guzza says, Saudi next round. Yeah, you could see that, couldn't you? You could see that, one of the bigger clubs in the Saudi Arabian League. And Brandon says, I genuinely hope they get relegated now, talking about Nottingham Forest. Ange is a great manager. We had I would say, easy-ish run in the Europa League, but he isn't a Premier League level manager. Karma for Marinakis. Yeah, I don't like Marinakis, I've got to be honest. And I didn't like the way the Forest fans came at us during the Morgan Gibbs-White stuff, although I would say I went at them as well because I couldn't believe how they were saying you'll never get him, because I was like, yeah, he's got a release clause. Release clauses are simple. You pay the money and it happens. And to be fair, they were right and they took the piss out of me. But it has all come home to roost. And honestly, if they get Sean Dyche now, he's being talked about. Mancini is being talked about. Sean Dyche is like, will he get them results? Yeah, but he'll be like he's almost like a Nuno light. So that's a weird one. And then Mancini. Oh my God, can you imagine Mancini and Marinakis? They'll be like that. They will be like that. Mancini, if you listen to kind of Micah Richards when he talked about working under Mancini, Mancini is like, lightning in a bottle in terms of his temper and stuff like that. So it'd be really interesting to see where Forest go next. But yeah, bad time for them, that's for sure. All right, Thomas Frank said this about the team news before today's game. Kolo Muani has trained for 2 weeks with the team. He looks better and better, and he's in contention for the weekend. Dom Solanke has progressed well post-surgery. He's moving forwards. Ibasum, unfortunately, had a situation with the national team and has a ligament issue in his ankle, so he'll be out for a few weeks. He spoke more on Solanke. He said he looks better and better. When he first came, he still needed a bit to get to a higher level. That's not to say he can't play a part tomorrow, but he needs time to get back up there. Well, Solanke is not in the squad today. For me, with Solanke, I think we've got to wait until he's properly fit. Don't take any risk with him because we need him long-term for this season. Frank continued on Kolo Muani after. He said, the World Cup is far away in general. I understand the players are thinking about it. I haven't spoken to him about it. What I am focusing on is make sure he's in the right place and performing as well as he can for us, and the rest will take care of itself from there. So Kolo Muani is on the bench today. I think we saw him, didn't we? Was it at the end, very late at the end? Was it in the Doncaster game? He came on. I can't remember. It didn't do much other than getting booked, I remember. Julian Humphrey has helped me here. Says, Thomas Frank says that Destiny Dog is not involved today because of a knee injury. Julian, can you give me an idea on whether, I'll just check on Twitter as well, whether Thomas Frank gave any impression of how serious a knee injury it was? I'm just looking for it now on Twitter. Nothing obvious at the moment. But if you can let me know in the comments, guys, I really, really hope it's nothing too serious with Destiny Udogie. Interestingly, let me just have a look. Ben Davis also isn't on the bench, is he? No, Kinski, Danso, Richarlison, Gray, Bergvall, Johnson, Sark, Kolo Muani, and Byfield. So no natural left side. I'm surprised Ben Davis isn't on the bench. I wonder if he's injured as well. But anyway, yeah, Julian, if you could let me know if Thomas Frank gave any kind of idea on how serious that knee injury is. I really like the balance that Udogie gave us. And I don't think I'm pretty sure he wasn't in the Italian squad. I think the Italians wanted to take him, but Spurs kind of negotiated that it wouldn't be a good idea for the Italians to take him during the international week. So it sounds like he's got a knee niggle that he's picked up on the international break. Wilson T says Ben Davis is injured. Thank you for that, mate. Thomas Frank. So obviously, in the last few days, in the last week or two, obviously that £100 million investment came in from ENIC. Thomas Frank was asked about it in his pre-match press conference. He said, first and foremost, I think it's hugely positive that the Lewis family is clearly showing their interest in doing everything they can to improve the club and back the club and want us to be as successful as possible. How we'll spend the money, of course, we'll keep that for ourselves. Okay, Julian, thank you, mate. Julian, you are my key piece of intel here. He says, Thomas Frank said to Sky Sports, it's nothing major and that the player will not be out for long. And let's hope that's true rather than what it was like under big Ange Postecoglou when he'd say someone had a knock. He said Dejan Kulusevski had a knock and he had to have serious patella kneecap surgery and he's out. They're just showing the Aston Villa team. It's Martinez, Cash, Konsa, Torres and Digne, Kamara and Onana in midfield, McGinn and Rogers out wide with Marlon and Guesson up front. Ollie Watkins is on the bench. Okay, that's interesting, isn't it? So looks like he's kind of playing a slightly, or not a direct two up front, but just one off the back of the striker there. And they're very powerful team, Aston Villa, actually very physically powerful. Once again, guys, just before I go into some more of the Thomas Frank quotes and Spurs news, please, if you're not already following me and part of my community on BigUp, do come over to BigUp and join because I will be cutting over to there for the watch along. I'll be stopping this at about in about 10-15 minutes time, then going over for the watch along on BigUp at 5 to 2. The match kicks off at 2 o'clock. I'll be over there for 5 to 2. Come and join my community there. You can video call me in at halftime if you want to talk about what's happened in the first half. You can also play the daily fantasy game where you pick 5 players from Aston Villa and Spurs, kind of 5 in between the two teams, and the winner and the second and third place win big bucks within BigUp. So it's a really cool place, and I do every single watch along there. So do come and join me. Details of how are in the description box below. Thomas Frank talked, like I mentioned, about trying to make the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium a fortress. He said, we like our home to be a fortress. Can we make our home an unbelievably difficult place to come to? Then the job is half done in terms of what you like to try to achieve. And that is like an unbelievable cohesion between the team and the fans. It can not only be the team and it cannot only be the fans. It needs to be both. We need to bring energy to each other. We need to work unbelievably hard, perform well, try to be positive, but also need a little bit of help. Every game goes a little bit up and down. You have good spells and bad spells. We need the fans, especially in the tough moments. The better they can be behind the team, the better it will be. I think, again, Thomas Frank showing how he's so good with communication, so good with messaging. And I agree with him. I think it'll take a bit of time. It took a bit of time for Pochettino, didn't it? The first season under Pochettino was a bit about him kind of working out who in his squad he liked and who he didn't like and trying to get the crowd behind him. It took him till about halfway, nearly 2/3 of the way through the first season to really start getting something that was cohesive. And then, of course, in that second and third season, Spurs were absolutely ruthless at White Hart Lane. And in the final season at White Hart Lane, Spurs went unbeaten at home the entire season. And of course, if you remember, in the finale, beat Manchester United at home in that final game as well. And if I'm right in remembering, that was Jose Mourinho's Manchester United as well, with Wayne Rooney playing, etc., etc. Obviously, Thomas Frank hadn't spoken since Paratici came back with Johan Lang, and he was asked again about that in his press conference. He said, I'm looking forward to working together with them. I'm in no doubt we will all create a good team. I'm used to working with 2 sporting directors. I did so at Brentford. I think you need 2 sporting directors now. I think they'll complement each other well. I was very positive about it. It will work very well. Their abilities will complement each other well. It's the perfect match. So that's great messaging again from Thomas Frank, saying, you need 2 sporting directors now. So that really is that kind of shows he wouldn't say that if he didn't feel it. And that is a kind of really positive for Vinay Venkatesham, being backed by the manager. And, one thing I will say, look, like I said, I think it'll take Thomas Frank a while for us to get us playing absolutely perfectly as he wants us on the pitch. But in terms of his messaging off the pitch and support of the club and everything going around and how the players feel about him as a manager, I think it's been an excellent, excellent start. Frank was asked about Wilson Odobert and Mathys Tel, who are both starting tonight, and their goal scoring form for France under 21s. He said it was so nice to see them perform well for their country. They're both in a good rhythm. I'm pleased with them both in general. I think they're developing and taking steps in the right direction. He was asked about playing that 7 games in 22 days. He said, we love to play games. Players would rather play than train. We have a fantastic run of games ahead of us. Villa are a top team with a top manager. I have great respect for Unai Emery. What he has done there is fantastic. They have a very strong team, and I'm looking forward to it. We all have an idea in our heads of what the strongest team is with everyone available, but I have to create the strongest team with the players that are available now. Redwan says, sorry, that's the wrong one. I'll get to that. Redwan says, Unai is a tough manager to come up against, very experienced. I'll take a scrappy win. Listen, I take any win. Yeah, scrappy win, any kind of win, of course. these Villa games are not easy. And like we've all talked about, when we're not quite as strong, we're not quite as strong at home. And I think one of the reasons we're not as strong as at home is because we're not quite sure yet how to mix that pragmatism and defensive strength that we undoubtedly have so much more this season than last season, with then when to take risks, when to let the fullbacks bomb on, who's going to sit in when that happens, etc., etc. And you can see sometimes in these matches there is a little bit lack of kind of surety of the players. So when you see, for instance, Romero bombing forward, you're like, are you sure? Are you sure he should be doing that? Bentancur does like to sit in for him, which is good. But I don't feel like everyone is as confident in Romero to be doing that all the time at the moment. And it'll take a little bit of time for that cohesiveness to work out. But I agree with you, Red One. Yeah, Unai is very good. Old Man Massar says, let's go. I agree. And Gons, thank you for your messages. Good afternoon. I really hope this is the game that gets the team to click and start smashing teams. Great stream. Thank you, mate. Come on, you Spurs. I would be surprised if this is the game where we start smashing teams, but I wouldn't mind it if it was, of course. But they're just showing Mohamed Kudus' stats, by the way. Top of the Premier League in assists, crosses, touches in the final third, and dribbles completed. What a signing. And by God, do we need to keep that boy fit. Absolutely massive player for us. And that's another thing I'd say is where I'm hopeful that we'll be a lot more creative in this game than, say, the Wolves home game, our last home games where we were so lucky to draw. Is that with Xavi in the 10 and hopefully getting into spaces in the pocket and players picking him out, that will draw defenders and opposition midfielders to him, which will allow him then on the half turn to open it out to Kudus and give him more space. As far as I'm concerned, it's no coincidence that Kudus scored his first goal for Spurs when Xavi Simons was playing in the 10 in the last game against Leeds. No coincidence at all. Because when you're playing, say, Sarr with Palhinha and Bentancur, the opposition know that none of them are going to kind of take up little space in the pockets, take it on the half turn and play a kind of defense splitting pass. They know that they're more like engine room players. Whereas now with Xavi and Kudus together, there are two players there who have a little bit of, defenders have to worry what they're going to do. And then also if you add Odegaard there, who's starting to play himself into a little bit of form, who can take it outside, come inside, there you've got three players behind the front man who can cause trouble. And then in terms of the front man, Matisse Tell, we're not going to obviously see much hold-up play today from Spurs because he's too small. But where we need to get him the ball is in the area just outside the box. Got a brilliant finish on him. Absolutely brilliant finish on him. And the other thing that I think he's great at is his movement. His movement in the box is good. And we saw that, didn't we? Was it against Doncaster where he had 2 air shots? He got himself into really brilliant positions and then had those air shots, unfortunately. But that goal at Leeds, I'm hopeful, will give him a lot of confidence. And like I said earlier, he played really well in the French under-21s. Gon says, what do you think of the lineup? Tell for a brace. Come on, you Spurs. Yeah, I've mainly discussed the lineup. I'm pretty confident about it. I like it. I wish that Udogie was fit so we'd have a bit more balance on the left. But Jed Spence is in great form as well. And he'll be pleased to be back in the team from the start. I think a lot will come down to how can we surprise Villa down the left-hand side, because I think they'll think with Spence there, it'll be pretty easy for them to press us all the way across, and then they'll only have to defend our right-hand side. They'll feel pretty confident about that if they can get bodies doubling and tripling up on Kudus on the right. So if Spence, alongside Odegaard, can find ways to surprise them on the left and take them on the outside or take them on the inside, that I think will be the key to whether Spurs can get a victory at home to Aston Villa today. Thomas Frank talked a bit more about working with the 2 new sporting directors on transfers. He said, I always have the final say. You know that in the end, it's teamwork. The 3 of us need to agree. But if one of us disagrees, and it's a very, very strong disagreement, it probably isn't the right player. So that's what he's saying. Guys, listen, this has been the live pre-match Premier League show before the Aston Villa game, Tottenham versus Aston Villa. Once again, please do join me for the watch along. It's going to start in about 10-15 minutes over on BigUp. So come and join me on BigUp. Details of how are in the description box below. Go to bigup.com/the Spurred On podcast. There is also now a BigUp app on OS and Android. So do, if you're on your mobile, upload the BigUp app, find the Spurred On podcast, and join me for the watch along there. For the Spurs versus Aston Villa game. Also sign up to the daily fantasy game and you get the chance to win big bucks. And I will see you there in about 10 or 15 minutes time. Let's hope for a big win. Come on, you Spurs.